You probably expected me, the RPG guy, to have finally played a Persona game. Or maybe even Metaphor? That's a good one. Anyways, here's Catherine Classic.
Drop it.
Catherine is a romantic, sometimes erotic, horror puzzle game made by ATLUS, the people behind that other series of RPGs I should really get to playing already. You play as Vincent Brooks, an indecisive loser of a man with no money, no job, and no bitches. Actually, scratch that, the man does indeed have a woman in his life. 2 of them, in fact, and therein lies the problem. Vincent's girlfriend, Catherine, is a workaholic who is tired of his constant indecision towards taking an arrow to the knee, but while getting day drunk at the bar, as he constantly does, another young woman named Catherine sits next to him and, well, the 2 hook up. And now he's a cheater. Simultaneously, Vincent begins experiencing terrifying nightmares about having to climb this massive tower of blocks and is surrounded by talking sheep. These nightmares are making headlines on the news lately as they are affecting men who were cursed for being unfaithful in their relationships, and as a result, the nightmares are, killing them. So now it's up to Vincent to scale the tower and survive 7 nights of hell, leading the other sheep with him to freedom. As is ATLUS' specialty, the game is split between social phases and the actual game sections. We'll talk about the latter first, since that's probably more interesting to hear about. Every night, you have to climb walls made of blocks, which you can pull out, push, move around, climb on top of, and even dangle from the edge of. There are also pickups around to help you climb, like free block placements or extra lives. The objective of every level is simple. Get to the top of the wall before the blocks fall out from beneath you. Easy, right? Sure, as long as you don't count the crumbling blocks, bomb blocks, blocks with mouths that lick you and make you fall from ledges. What? Black hole blocks, ice blocks, and also other sheep that will try to knock you off. Then yeah, it's no problem. Being serious, the game can provide a serious challenge at points. There were a handful of parts where I had to hang up my pride and actually look up sections of some levels, and these times were spread across the game, mind you. Then there were other times where the puzzle just immediately clicked with me and I was done in a matter of minutes. It just kind of came and went, though I did play this game in very large chunks and did significantly worse towards the end because it would be like 11:30 and I'd been playing all day. Being exhausted makes you bad at puzzles, who knew? Granted, some of the puzzles did just hit the right dopamine button in my brain. I enjoy these kinds of games from time to time. Social phases take place at the Stray Sheep, the bar Vincent frequents. You can have a drink, chat with your chud friends, have another drink, talk to the other patrons in the bar, have a drink, have a drink. Hey, wasn't that guy in the dream with you earlier? Get sent horny pics from Catherine with a C, try to open them in public. Whoops, didn't need to pull that one out, eh, boys? Head to the bathroom, open the pics on the toilet, reply to Catherine with a K that everything's alright, wash your face, get jump scared by unimaginable horrors, go back out, have another drink, play on the arcade machine, hallucinate some guy telling you cocktail trivia for hitting the bottom of your glass, and then order another one! Mainly the purpose of this section is threefold: to progress the story, to talk to the other cursed patrons to keep their spirits strong so they won't die during the night, and to respond to text messages from the Catherines that will affect your meter. As you make choices over the course of the game, they will affect a meter that ranges from red to blue. To kinda spoil the theme, red represents freedom and blue is order. Basically, your choices will lean into what ending Vincent will eventually come to, whether he decides to settle down with Catherine with a K, or realizes he wants a more rambunctious life with C. Catherine. There are actually a lot of different endings, some of which lead into deeper, true variants for meeting certain requirements, but we'll touch on those later. So what are my overall thoughts on Catherine?
Squishy.
I thought the game was pretty good overall. I have some issues, but we'll get to them. Visually, musically, it's the ATLUS style, it's Persona. It's got the same touches from everything I've ever seen from Persona, and it's good. It is cranked up a bit in terms of age demographic. Instead of having a group of teenagers, we've got a bunch of 30-somethings having real adult issues, and also having to deal with death-causing nightmares about beating evil obstacle courses. The English dub was also surprisingly strong, not only with a stellar cast, but it also manages to be mature without being try-hard. The characters swear and act like real people, it doesn't come off as particularly cringy. I had a great time watching them all interact with one another. Lindsay and Martha are a weird pair though. Every interaction with them was unnerving.
I hear Mr. Archie has many new rooms. He gets new ones every time he sleeps with a woman. It's 4 days until the time of freedom.
It's also interesting how much of a loser Vincent is during the day, but in the dream he takes on more of a confident leader role for the other sheep, sharing techniques and encouraging them to keep going. Speaking of techniques, there are genuine methodologies and tactics you can apply and learn about from the game. Every time you finish a level, you'll reach a landing where you can convene with other sheep and share these kinds of tips. If you're considering trying this game, let me offer you my favorite trick from the entire game, the Inazuma. On walls that are 3 blocks wide, pull out one side block, shuffle around, then drag it to the middle. Shuffle back around to the spot you pulled it out from, push it to the other side, usually over a gap, and then pull out the middle block next to it and shuffle back so you can climb on top. Then just keep making these 1x2 platforms by zigzagging back and forth, and you can climb walls very easily. Very useful. To leave a landing, you have to enter a confessional booth and answer an extremely personal question about relationships, love, romantic partners, that kind of deal. These answers also affect your meter, but more than that, as the next level loads, you are shown a pie chart of other first-time answers from other players showing how people have answered that same question. It's a really cool little aspect that I didn't expect, getting to see other people's values regarding relationships and seeing if they lined up with yours. For example, I was shocked that the first time answers of I don't think so and I plead the fifth were 50-50 for the question, have you ever cheated before? Crazy shit. The characters are fine. They feel like real people despite only 3 of them having any serious depth or development per se. It was intriguing to see Vincent's confident side begin to come out more and more IRL as he climbed, and eventually, for my playthrough, he matured enough to try and tie the knot with Catherine with a K. Just another side note here, but one thing I really liked were the character models, or at least how they moved. There are a lot of points where they over-animated Vincent to hell for dramatic effect, and it worked in making me laugh, sure, but there's lots of other swaying, or gesturing, or just general body language, and the way that people walked that really made the game feel more natural. A good touch. The story is fairly straightforward. Vincent is cheating, and he has to decide which girl he's going to stick with while trying not to die in his sleep. There's certainly lots of symbolism and arguments about love, marriage, the differences between men and women, but the actual pieces of the plot, Sheep Boy climbs. Coma was the one to get this game for me, so she watched me play through the first hour. The first 2 regions, Underground Cemetery and the Prison of Despair, were pretty alright. Don't recall anything being too difficult. That may be due to the fact that it was 9 months ago. I just kind of put the game down and didn't come back to it until a few days before this video came out. I came back to the torture chamber, which added spike traps, but that didn't go too poorly either, save for one section. But then came the Inquisition, and that meant the child. So yeah, small thing I forgot. Each area ends with a boss fight where you have to race up a cliff while desperately trying to escape whatever horror awaits at the bottom. Each boss represents something that is troubling Vincent in his life, and the child comes from a pregnancy scare that Catherine with a K had in that chapter. I spent over a fucking hour trying to get through this level. It's where I had to start looking stuff up. The stupid baby crawled up way too fast for me to outclimb, and even if I wasn't in its death range, its fat infant head would usually block most of my vision anyways. And the endless screaming and whining. Ugh, stupid chud. It was also here where I started to experience probably the biggest hindrance of the whole game. Look, it's a 2011 game. I know it's a little bit older, but holy fucking shit, I was so close to popping a blood vessel from the number of times the controls would just not respond. I played on a controller, and the D-pad tap difference, the microscopically minute difference between turning Vincent around and moving him in a direction sometimes was infuriating. Having him climb up and down blocks I don't want him to, or stepping on things that kill him. Very frustrating. If I have any complaint about Catherine, it's the random lack of responsiveness sometimes. The quadrangle introduced ice blocks. You know exactly how these work. However, I didn't have nearly as bad of a time with these, mostly because it just meant paying attention to where you would be sliding, the paths up have to be pretty specific, and also because there were certain ways to interact with the ice blocks that didn't send you careening into a pit of endless despair. Doom's Bride awaited me at the top, an embodiment of Vincent's refusal to commit to marriage, and we got through it pretty easily. Well, except for this one moment during the boss fight. What? What? The clock tower was World 6, and this one had me searching for more answers online in spots. It added bomb blocks. 3 guesses what those do. Oh, and look, it's the fucking child again, with a chainsaw. No, that's not even a bit. The boss is called Child with a Chainsaw. Only in Catherine, folks. Didn't spend as long on this one, thankfully. The spiral corridor was the last of the 7 nights of torture for Vincent, but for me, it was a dream come true. I didn't have to search a single thing on this level. I had a really good time with these puzzles, especially 7-2. That one might be my favorite level in the whole game, not counting bosses. This floor added black hole blocks that destroy anything that lands on them. Anything. That includes Vincent. But he managed to avoid most of them. And waiting for him at the top was his shadow. Man, this really is almost a Persona game, huh? Really cool arena to navigate, though. Now free from the curse, Vincent builds up the courage to call off things with Catherine with a C, which resulted in her beating the shit out of him in the bathroom. The next day, Catherine with a K comes over, and Catherine with a C has suddenly appeared in Vincent's apartment. The 2 women fight, Catherine nearly kills Catherine, but accidentally kills Catherine, and when Vincent tries to leave with Catherine, they find themselves in the tower again. So now, it's time for the next annoyance with this game. Someone, somewhere, decided it was going to be a great idea to add a fucking escort mission to a rapid time-based puzzle game, and then give the escort the worst AI imaginable. Seriously, if Catherine dangles on a ledge, she doesn't know how to get back up. And then there's fighting with her to not get in your way as you're trying to build the fucking path, or her being too goddamn slow and getting squished by Catherine. It was exhausting getting this bitch up a hill. She even died twice in a row, literally on the precipice of victory. Anyways, in that moment, Vincent finally swears to commit to Catherine, but as every tower section has been so far, it was just a dream. The real Catherine comes by to break up with Vincent, aware of his affair, and now he's just a lonely man with nothing but a flaccid friend to keep him company. Worse still, all of his messages to and from Catherine with a C are gone, and none of his friends or Erica the bartender have seen this girl he was supposedly cheating with. It's as though she didn't even exist. Except there is one person that has seen her before. On the night Catherine first appeared, the Stray Sheep's owner, Boss, was talking to her for just a moment. This leads Vincent to confront the man, who is revealed to be Thomas Mutton, aka Doomazid, the only man to make it to the true top of the tower and become a god. His little scheme with Astaroth, the confessional voice, and Catherine, who is a succubus, I kind of figured that was the case, involves breaking up non-committal couples to redistribute the women out into the mating populace. This whole fucking game was just Japanese repopulation propaganda, huh? Sure, I'm game. I'd hit it. Anyways, having figured out the scheme, Vincent proposes one last bet. If he can survive one more night in the tower, he will receive his wish of having Boss bring the girl of his choosing back to the bar to try and make amends with her. Boss eventually accepts, and thus begins the final trial. The Imperio. 6 more levels of the roughest fucking floors of all. Seriously, 9.2 and 9.3, I was copying about 75% of the walkthrough on the Catherine wiki. They were that difficult for me. And I don't like searching up answers. I want to solve them myself, damn it. But at this point, I was just ready to wrap things up. Luckily, boss stages are A, a little more straightforward usually, and B, a lot more fun, so 9.5 and 9.6 both being boss stages were cool. Except for 9.6's laser beam attack. That got annoying when I'd hit a new layer only for him to immediately be attacking and knock out where I was working on. Also, having to fight against actual RNG when Doomazid starts randomly changing blocks into other blocks was a hassle at times, but usually the undo button could fix some of it. Every level in Imperio also just has randomized blocks that change when you step on them. Like spike traps. Great. Before wrapping up the finale, just wanted to add. Towards the end of the game, I noticed that the soundtrack for the gameplay sections incorporated a lot of leitmotifs from different pieces of classical music. Just a neat touch, I appreciated that. I also really liked Lamb Game Between Male and Female, which plays in the bar on the last day. It again was very Persona, Calm Before the Storm type music, but that tracks with Shoji Meguro. Still, great soundtrack. Getting to the top, Vincent is determined to shape his own future, and Doomazid is defeated. Back at the bar, we get the ending that I had been determining over the whole game. Catherine with a K is brought to the bar, and Vincent is completely 100% honest with her. He's matured just enough and is bringing everything to light, which I completely respect. And after being convinced with testimonies from the others, Vincent finally poses the big question, and Catherine tenderly accepts. And then we zoom out to have Trisha, who's apparently Ishtar, I guess, explain the whole Golden Playhouse program we just watched and all the themes of the story we experienced. Yeah, did I forget to mention that this story is framed as a TV show within another universe? A few months later, they're in bed together, casually discussing the upcoming wedding, and while it's not perfect, it's exactly the perfect ending I wanted. Seeing Vincent grow up, not becoming amazing, but just better. And the cozy nudity of two lovers being together, mirroring previous scenes between Catherine the succubus and Vincent. This was tailored for me. There's lots of endings you can get. One where you get to see the whole wedding between Catherine and Vincent. A whole other side where you can get freaky with the succubus if you pick freedom over order. Even to the point where Vincent becomes an incubus and rules over hell with his group of hot demon baddies. Sign me up where? There's also the freedom endings, and while I still like that all the general directions of these endings feel rather equal with one another, no one ending hogging the limelight as the truest ending, I don't really like these ones. It's one thing to have Vincent realize he's not mature enough for marriage and have him opt out of the relationships on his own. That's great. But it just kind of feels very silly for his next immediate action to be, I'm gonna bet $50,000 of someone else's money on women's wrestling and then use the winnings to go to space. Not necessarily out of character, just not as interesting to me. I suppose the final question to wrap this whole thing up, Catherine or Catherine personally? Honestly, I have a hard time picking overall, but if I were to be responsible, I'd side with K Catherine. If I wanted to have fun, Catherine the succubus. Look, obviously she's trouble, she tempted Vincent into cheating, and she beat him mercilessly for breaking it off. But at the risk of victim blaming here, I wasn't extremely stoked about other Catherine either. While Vincent was and is a horrible shitbag to her, and she doesn't deserve any of it, for a good chunk of the game, it felt like she wasn't giving much effort to the relationship either, considering that she was constantly working and barely spending time with him outside of the coffee dates. The first real gesture of love I can think of her doing was when she brought him cake halfway through the game. Otherwise, every interaction between the two is her pressuring him to act in some way or another. Again, not saying she's wrong to do so necessarily, but when the few interactions they seem to have are just her chasing him around for answers or barking at him about how to live, it just comes across as the relationship is already on its last legs and is about to collapse under itself at any moment, and that it may be in their best collective interest to just let that happen. Maybe this is just a me thing, though, based on past experiences. Either way, they both have great pros, too. Catherine is very responsible and probably a reliable partner for self-growth and holding one accountable. And Catherine is fucking hot and fun and a demon. It's a tough call, really. There is also alternate game modes, and the sheer amount of replayability the game offers due to its number of endings is truly impressive. I just won't be going back to Torture Town anytime soon. I've had my fill for now. But overall, Catherine Classic. Good game. Me like. Happy Valentine's Day.
I love you.
Vincent, I love you too.
This is the pussy ending. This is for people who are too scared to go for the succubus. It's like, I like Catherine with a C, but she's not really human. This is for those people. Like, nah, embrace it, bitch. Exactly. You can't commit to the freak.
Yeah.